Hey Calibrate family, let's talk about something that can save you hundreds of dollars, even thousands of dollars. It can keep you safe. It'll make sure those projects go smooth and look good. So what am I talking about? It all comes down to tool maintenance. It doesn't matter if you're a tradesperson, a DIYer, or even a weekend warrior. You gotta take care of your tools so they can take care of you. And that includes your bank account. Taking care of your tools actually saves you a whole lot of money. If you have a well-maintained tool, that can last you 3 to 5 times longer than a neglected one. So let's think about that for a minute. Say you got a drill that costs you $150. By the way, they got some brands whose drills cost over $200. Well, that $150 drill, well maintained, can last you 15 years. Instead of a drill that was neglected that may only last you 3 years max. If you replace that neglected $150 drill that only lasts 3 years max over the course of 15 years, what did that cost you? What's that, $750 because of neglect? And that's not even counting inflation. Now that may not seem like a lot to you over the span of 15 years, but that's an extra $600 you could have kept in your pocket. Now aside from finances, what about safety? You definitely can't ignore that. Right now I got 5 fingers on my hand. I'm not saying lack of tool maintenance was the cause of somebody losing a finger. It could have been a number of reasons things happen, but I can't tell you how many guys that I've come across that are missing a digit because of tools. So maintaining your tools definitely reduces the risk of that happening. When your blades are not sharp enough, they're dull. That requires more force, which increases the chance of things going wrong. I just did a video on extension cords, power cords, how they can electrocute you if they're frayed, and a lot of other reasons. Go check that out. By the way, if you didn't know, this is a tool. Without this, you couldn't use a power tool. Just get in your mind, any tool that's damaged is dangerous. Not just to you, but to everybody else around you. And it's just common sense that a well-calibrated, lubricated, sharp tool is just gonna give better results. You get cleaner cuts, you get more accurate measurements, and the finishes are a lot smoother. It's just an overall more professional job from start to finish when your tools are maintained. Okay, when it comes to tool maintenance or tool care, there's 5 basic principles that's pretty simple to follow. Number 1, clean your tools after every use. This is a must. You can't negotiate on this. Dust, debris, and any kind of buildup will reduce the lifespan of your tools. For example, you don't want to let sawdust harden on your saw. You don't want to let concrete harden on your trowel. Get all that stuff off of your tools when it's fresh. You want to clean all that stuff off immediately after you finish using your tool. Because if you don't, all of that stuff is going to become part of your tool, and that's not going to be in a good way. Research what material is good for cleaning your particular tool. A lot of times they tell you that in the instructions on the tool. For example, you can flush your paint sprayer out with water, but you don't want to leave water in it because that can corrode the parts in it, so you have to put something like pump armor in it as a storage solution and to keep all the parts lubricated for when you use it next time. You don't want to use water on cast iron tools like bench vices or pipe cutters, anvils, or certain types of welding jigs. Certain types of clamps have cast iron jaws. When it comes to dried, caked up sawdust on your saw blades, mineral spirits is good for taking off a lot of resin and pitch from cutting wood. And if you don't want to leave scratches on your tools, you can use a brass brush. They're good for that. Another thing when it comes to cleaning, don't forget to dry your tools completely, meaning that you got to wipe off any kind of moisture that's left on them. Wipe them down completely because any moisture that's left can cause rust. And rust is one of the biggest enemies of your tools. I've done several videos on how to remove rust. Go check those out. Using a brass brush is one of them. And even if the moisture is not on the metal surface, you still want to wipe down the housing before you put it in storage. Here's another area that we neglect when it comes to cleaning our tools. That's the air vents. When the air vents are clogged, it can cause overheating, which can burn out the motor. If you got an air compressor, take a hose and just blow them out. Just a quick blast of air takes a few seconds, and that'll add years to your tool's life. Best thing to do when it comes to cleaning is have your cleaning supplies right on hand near your workstation so you won't forget to clean them right after. All right, so this next one is just as important as number 1, cleaning. And guess what that is? Storage. All right, so you want to hang your tools on pegboards or wall mounts. I'm sure you guys have seen those before, right? This is going to keep everything organized. You can see what you have. It's going to keep them off the floor, off of damp surfaces. piled up on shelves, and I hate to say it, I got some piled up on the shelf right now, and it lets the air circulate around them, and that keeps that moisture out. And one of the good benefits or byproducts of this method is that if you can see everything you have at one time, it makes your productivity shoot through the roof, because now you don't have to go searching or digging through a toolbox or a shelf looking for a tool. You have everything in front of you, and it's just a matter of reaching out. Save so much time. I recommend it. Here's one. Use toolboxes with foam inserts. It keeps tools from banging into each other, which reduces damage in transit. And it does give some organization so you won't have to dig through your pile of tools otherwise. Now, I know your garage may seem the most convenient place to put your tools, but a lot of us don't realize that your garage is not climate controlled. The temperature can swing from 100 degrees back down to freezing. And yes, your tools can suffer from these fluctuations in temperature. When temperatures go up and down, that can cause condensation on your tools, which equals moisture, which equals corrosion, which equals rust, which, like I said, is one of the number one enemies of your tools. These temperature changes can also affect battery performance, especially with lithium-ion batteries. Extreme cold can ruin those, as well as extreme heat. Also, very cold temperatures can affect lubricants. It can make them pretty much useless. Ever tried to start a car or a lawnmower in cold weather? One of the reasons is that the cold weather degrades the lubricants. A lot of the plastic components and the seals in your tools can be affected by the cold. They can crack, become brittle, because of these extreme heat and extreme cold fluctuations. A lot of damage can happen to a tool when you start it up in the cold. So what I suggest is, if you have a heater, put your tool under a heater for a few minutes before you start it up in the cold weather. Or if you have the space or resources, store your tools in a climate-controlled area. All right, some more storage tips. Keep all your blades covered with guards. This is common sense safety. It protects the blades and it protects you. A sharp edge is going to stay sharp when it's not banging up against other metal surfaces. Never pile up your tools in drawers or bins. Once again, this can damage cutting edges. You can end up bending your squares or other measuring tools. You can end up busting your bubble levels. Not to mention, it just makes things harder to find. So your productivity is shot because it's taking you forever to find something. Don't store your tools on concrete floors. If you're gonna put them on the floor, put a barrier between the concrete and your tool. Concrete is a haven for moisture. Don't store your bare tools on damp surfaces. At the end of the day, it comes down to organization, just like with anything else in life. If you can, make sure all your tools have a designated spot that's free of moisture, free of extreme temperature changes, and that they have enough space around them to protect them from any physical damage. All right, so number 2 was storage. Number 3 is lubrication. Another unavoidable enemy of your tool that eventually reduces its lifespan is friction. That's why you got oil. Whether it's motor oil for cars, or any kind of motor or mechanical device, you need a lubricant. So let me break it down in terms of tool type. For hand tools, you want to lubricate your pivots, your adjustable parts, just a drop or two of some light machine oil in your wrenches, your pliers, anything that has a pivot or is scissor-like. That'll keep them working nice and smooth. However, when it comes to power tools, you want to follow the manufacturer's recommendations or specifications as far as lubrication. Some power tools need grease on the gears. Others have ports that you need to put the specific oil into. Just check your manual on that. Don't try to wing those. You definitely want to put a protective coating on your blades for your cutting tools. Any kind of rust prevention lubrication oil to put on your blade in between uses. For garden tools, they even have lubricating oils for the wooden handles and the metal blades. The lubricating oil for the wooden handle prevents cracks in the wood. But here's a warning with lubricants. You want to use the right lubricant for the job. The wrong one could attract dust. It could damage the rubber seals, which can lead to leaks. So always check the manual or use a quality multi-purpose machine oil. All right, number 4, sharpening your tools, calibrating your tools. When it comes to cutting tools like chisels, hand planer blades, knives, you should be using some type of grinder, whether that's a bench grinder with a proper grinding wheel. Whitestone is also good when you're doing manual sharpening. Most important thing to know about sharpening is using the correct angle. Anytime you notice that your drill bit is not drilling or it's giving more resistance than it should, either you need to replace it or sharpen it. I've covered sharpening drill bits as well, so you can go check that out. Just don't wait till they're completely useless. Measuring tools like squares, levels, calipers, you should check the calibration on these periodically, at least every year, to make sure that they're conforming to the known standards. If a square is off by a 1/16 of an inch, that's going to throw off every cut that you make. Once again, if your blade is dull, that's going to require more force, and that's going to strain the motor, which can cause kickback, and that can cause some serious injury. Lawn equipment, that's all about blades. Whether it's a hedge trimmer, lawnmower, landscaping equipment definitely requires blade sharpening every season. All right, number 5 is just inspect your tools before you use them. Look for anything that stands out or is out of the ordinary. Cracks in the handles. Make sure all the nuts and bolts are tightened. Look for any frayed or damaged power cords. Make sure the guards are working. Look for any rust or corrosion. Also listen for any unusual sounds. This is going to prevent you from getting injured or for having to come out of pocket and spend a whole lot of money for expensive repairs. The best thing to do is create a maintenance schedule, whether it's weekly, monthly, or quarterly. If you got those complex tools, you could make that an annual thing where you bring in professional services to deal with those, or even have them do a full audit of your tool inventory. Use the technology they have out there to do all of this. Hey guys, if you learned something from this, hit that like and subscribe. Check out the links in the description to support the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.